Ever wonder where your data goes? Is it truly as secure as they want us to believe? Or is it just some part of some false reality? Data, one of many buzzwords that are going around today's media with their fantasization of computer science. When you truly talk about one's data and their relationship, it's where the term priceless truly comes into play. It may comprise of your favorite videos, or maybe your personal information, or hey, maybe some memes that you found on the internet that thought they were funny. Maybe even priceless memories. This inseparable bond, this virtual DNA, it only seems natural why we as the user ever wish so to protect it. Do you feel like you produce lots of data?
Yes, I produce an extremely large amount of data.
The internet now it's at its peak and it's only getting bigger from now on, so more information will be on the internet, personal related jobs, everything's going to be on the internet.
Yes, I do. I leave a big digital footprint everywhere I go. Like I search tons of sites, I go everywhere, I put my Facebook in sites when they ask for it, my Google, all of that.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm on Facebook, I like to post like a lot of my personal stuff.
Now, I feel like I do because I have a lot of personal business. There's people I talk to, and sometimes I use my data to give like information like credit cards and bills.
Yeah, of course. Like every once in a while, every like 1 month, I post a picture on Instagram, and I use WhatsApp daily. I chat my friends and post stories on Snapchat. That's a hobby that everyone does.
Do you feel like your data is safe?
No, I don't. Okay. Because I know it's not safe because as soon as I leave a site, they're already recommending certain products for me and stuff like that. So it's like crazy. It's like, are they mind reading? And I can just talk about certain things and just pop up in the search. So it's like, wow. And I know that they calculate all the data.
When you put something out there, it will be out there forever, and you don't know who gets it. And now businesses run on those information to advertise to you their products.
Personally, I do think it's safe with things like Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, but there are websites I use that maybe not so much.
Yeah, because no one had hacked my account before, so I think that I'm free. I can post whatever I want, whenever I want. No one can judge me. No one can hack my stuff because it didn't happen before.
Do you feel like your data is safe? Ever had a moment or two when maybe chatting with your friends is something as random as kitty litter and there happens to be a phone or a computer laying around? You would normally think that such device may be off, and moments later when you go on the internet, you may find ads about said products. It almost feels like someone is watching you at times, or someone else is listening in. Some corporations have came under fire for such practices, and many people call these acts unethical. So the question would be naturally, is there any way to regulate this? So this is just an example of like kind of what's going on out there in cyberspace. Yes, so as we can see, this is just like an example of threat map. It's just showing the types of DDoS attacks and a variety of other types of cybernetic attacks that are going on all over the world. This is a live map. As you can see, it's very hectic. Thousands of these go unreported, and it happens all the time. This is happening right now in real time. One law that has been in proposition since 2016 and has changed the game a little over 6 months ago, back in 2018, when its provisions affected all members in the European Union. So being that it's only 6 months old, How does this new law affect the EU and all of its businesses? How it affects us as American citizens, from the small software startup companies to the Fortune 500 corporations. Introducing GDPR, the General Data and Protection Regulation Act. Before we get into what it actually is, let's start from where it began. The origins of GDPR actually started back in October of '95. The concept of data and protection regulation hasn't been a new idea. The European Parliament passed Directive 95, which set the standard to protect privacy and the protection of all personal data for the citizens of the EU. The directive was focused on these 7 principles. Subjects whose info was collected and should be given notice of said collection. Subjects whose personal info is being collected and should be informed as to who's collecting the data. Once the data is collected, personal info should be safe and secure from potential exploits. Personal data should not be disclosed or shared with third parties without consent from the user. Users should have access to their data and can correct any inaccuracies. Data should be collected for the original stated purpose and no other. Users should be able to hold those accountable for violating all 7 principles. So all these laws are fair and make sense. What changes with GDPR? GDPR will officially set the new legal framework and guidelines for collection and processing with individual data. However, now GDPR seems to be imposing fines that can be revenue-based. GDPR's scope ranges to all companies that deal with data of EU citizens. The 7 key principles it focuses on are lawfulness, fairness, and transparency, purpose limitation, data minimization, accuracy, storage limitation, integrity and confidentiality, also known as security, and accountability. Do you trust big companies with your information?
To be honest, no, I don't feel like it's safe because I'm putting it out there and I don't know who's it going into, and especially with the Facebook accusation of them publishing our private information, I'm not really sure where my data is going.
Yes and no. It's like a double-edged sword. It's sort of like, I don't want people knowing what I'm looking at or knowing what I'm into, but I know they're gonna, I know we need these companies. I know it's probably for the betterment of the future.
I do trust those big companies, but I also know that they're also selling my information, so it's rather big companies doing that than small amateur companies doing it.
Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, because sometimes I play PlayStation, and sometimes PlayStation has outbreaks, data outbreaks. So sometimes I feel scared to put in any information.
Yeah, absolutely. I trust them because worldwide, everybody uses the social media and uses Facebook and Google. So it's a trusted company, I guess.
That actually reminds me of this time where something like that did happen. My account got hacked on Instagram, and after that I just became really strict on my information online and things like that. So not really, no.
Most of the data right now is being used for advertising, pop-ups, and things like that, which is more an annoyance than anything else, and you can use an ad blocker. It can become dangerous in situations where they start using your data to spy on you, to start using your data to monitor what kinds of opinions you have and things like that, which isn't entirely, it can lead into some dangerous things.
What steps should businesses take in order to prevent a data breach?
Have secure servers, check them every now and then, probably monthly, or weekly, bi-weekly.
Better security measures to prevent hackers from stealing data.
All they can do is what they continue to do, which is try to stay one step ahead of hackers. Hackers are always coming up with new technology in order to breach something.
Better cybersecurity programs and just focus on that.
I think they should put more blockages, like they should have more security systems up for social media and things of the sort.
So they should have increase the security. It should have more security, make it more secure.
Well, I think that businesses should ask their customer base what they really want as far as out of their data, and if they wanted to sell it to companies and advertising firms to see what they really want.
And I think the business should like do all the steps to make it look safe and reach out, like the police.
They should provide the users with more security to feel comfortable to post whatever you want, not worrying to be hacked or something like that.
How should companies be held accountable for data breaches?
I feel like there should be harsh legal repercussions and large fines for companies that have data breaches.
I think they should be held accountable to the max. Like, if you're going to use my data, if you're going to make money off my data, then if my data is stolen, that means you should be at fault and you should, suffer the consequences.
I feel like they should be accounted for at least, like, if somebody's money been taken out, they should be able to get their money back.
Should very much get fines. They should get in some form of trouble. If very large amounts of money get lost, they should have to pay out the money that their users lost.
When things like that happen to them, I mean, being online, things have become so advanced that it'll be hard to track down the person who's doing this type of stuff for the companies, but I feel like that should be a lesson to where they should have more protection for things like that, but it should also be a thing where they should find out who's been doing this type of stuff to them, because it's only fair.
They are the source. They are the source of, like, if we got hacked or something happened to us, their main responsibility is them, of course, because they are providing us with this social media, with this all stuff. So anything happens, they are responsible for that. They should make it like more secure. Like, everybody would put a blame on them. They are the main cause of it.
So what are some of the issues with GDPR? Many companies, as much as 50% of businesses within the EU, are not in compliance with GDPR, even though they had some time to prepare before the legislation went into effect. Some say that the investment in order to be GDPR compliant will further drive up overhead costs of the business and how to redesign and store data. Some sources dictate and speak in regards to the fact that it can also affect a company's HR department by storing employee data or even websites that have came under fire when IP addresses of people are into effect. So the general scope of this is pretty wide. So how does GDPR affect Americans, even though initially it applies to the EU and its citizens? Any business with EU customers makes any company liable and subjected to abide by GDPR, even if their headquarters is in the United States. Now knowing that GDPR isn't limited under any geographical boundaries on where it's being enforced, many tech companies in America can be facing fines possibly. So even with one EU customer's data, if you don't comply with GDPR, you can be facing up to 20 million euros as a fine. Some reports indicate that up to 79% of US companies are not GDPR compliant. Many tech giants are coming under fire for not being compliant, such as Facebook, since they are forced to hire many more personnel in order to be GDPR compliant. The additional personnel, of course, are meant to decipher the regulation's many layers. However, Amazon, for example, is a positive way on how it can be GDPR compliant. AWS, or their secure cloud platform, is one example on how its new processing data agreement is very public to all of its customers and even welcomes GDPR. Google, however, came under fire by the French Data Protection Authority, being fined around $57 million for not disclosing to their users how data is collected across all of its services and used to target users with personalized ads. Apple recently offered options for their users to receive a copy of their data after initially being non-GDPR compliant. Prior to any of these incidences and the threat of GDPR came into effect, some other incidences have happened in the United States that has set the precedence for similar legislation for GDPR to be written in the United States. Incidences such as the Equifax hack, which left 1 in 3 Americans' data compromised, and the Uber hack, which comprised and costed about 57 million drivers of their personal data that was lost to hackers. So where does this leave us? In the ever world of cyber terrorism and digital brinksmanship, it makes us wonder with one daunting question on our minds. Is our data truly safe?